Hi there. Hi, Pamela. Thanks for joining us. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can, yes. Thank you, Wendy and Mata, for being here. We've just enjoyed the program and have some questions for you. Are we waiting on anyone else to join? No? Okay. Wonderful. Well, first, perhaps, I don't think I introduced myself. My name is Chloe. Hi there. I'm on the programming team for Mimesis 2026, and I would love if each of you would introduce yourselves and perhaps say a bit about why this project came to you.
Hi, my name's Wendy. I recently just graduated from UCLA, so this is my second year documentary program. And when I was taking that course, my aunt is like coming in my mind because there's like obvious conflict in her family, and my cousin told me about her feelings towards her mother-in-law, my aunt, a lot, and my aunt told me about her feelings as well. So I feel like this big conflict probably can be a film,
Mm.
and because they haven't in contact with each other for a long time since my aunt come to US. So I think maybe during the Spring Festival, the Chinese New Year, they probably could have a phone call and we can talk something about the separation. That's why I just want to make this film.
Thank you. I'm just going to pause in introductions. Hi, Jesse. Thank you for joining us. We're just going through artists and why the films that we're watching, our documentaries, came to them. Mata,
Hi, my name is Mahda Mehdi. I recently graduated from the Film MFA program here at CU, which was a 3-year program. I made the first film in the program, Noli Matangera, which was a class project that I made in my second year. And the initial seed of it came from an assignment in that class. It was a course taught by Kelly Sears called Excavation Filmmaking. And we were working with down shooters. So I was thinking of what to develop out of an idea of excavation and working with a down shooter. And I took it quite literally and thought of the mass graves in Tehran, where I'm from, that holds the unnamed mass graves of political prisoners from 1980s that were mass executed while the Iran-Iraq War was happening. And so I had like a 50-second piece that is what concludes the film. But was thinking for some months, what other things can or should grow out of that. And I was in my second year, but I was already thinking about my thesis film, and I had an idea, and basically it came down to only like 2 details: 4 pieces of music that I had in mind, and a title, which was Noli Me Tangere, which its literal translation would be "Touch Me Not." And I was basically thinking a lot about death in a general sense. And then the rest of the film grew out of that. Yeah.
thank you. Pamela?
Hello, thank you everyone for this space. I wish I was there to be part of this year's program. I think my film, Presente en los Grandes Eventos, came out of a continuous process of migratory grief. And when my sister got pregnant, I think it was the first time that it made me really start rethinking about some real motivations about why us migrants decide to leave beyond, of course, economic opportunities and improving our livelihoods. I think there are other factors that sometimes get lost in the migrant experience that I think are important to keep ourselves dignified. So yeah, that was my motivation. Thank you.
Jesse?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, thanks.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, sorry I can't be there. I would have loved to attend if possible. I think my interest was I've gotten very interested in auto fiction methods, and I've been working on films that are definitely more personal than other films that I've made, maybe like more overtly personal. So this film came out of my own experience in kind of going through a separation and eventually a divorce, and having it kind of correspond with the pandemic, and then just sort of, I don't know, thinking about coping mechanisms and strategies and trying to find some grace and some growth, even in, something that felt like just sort of sheer escapism. So that was where it came from. I'd done a lot of writing before I made the film. So it was a writing project first.
Thank you. I'm going to open up questions to the audience in a moment, but I'd like to just start by saying that there was a thread, certainly through all of these, many, but at times a destabilizing and dizzying orientation in these documentaries that each had a way of portraying distance and proximity very palpably. And I'm wondering if each of you perhaps could speak to that a bit in that abstract way. And it may be to prompt further specifically in use of the digital, both hands and screens, in letting us see just how far or close things might be. And Wendy, you don't have to begin. If someone else has an idea first, please feel free to jump on.
I'll jump on if that's okay.
Please.
Just because when you said digital and hands, I was like, okay. Well, one thing that the first time I showed this film, someone who's familiar with other pieces of mine kind of said, how come you're always using hands in your film? And I really hadn't thought about it, but they do make an appearance in a lot of films. I guess I think I'm interested in them as a tool of gesture, and they're just for me, I mean, I use my hands a lot, and I think they're very expressive way of communicating. In this particular film, I wanted to give some sort of sense of kind of reaching out, of watching someone that is clearly someone else or somewhere else. So I didn't want to use like necessarily all point of view shots of the character in the film. I wanted to give other kinds of views that still showed for a sort of reaching out, literally, but also kind of an imaginatively, like, and trying to sort of dislocate the viewer too as to which reality or which place was the actual location that we were in. So distance and place got kind of as shaken up as anything else in this film, in terms of like, if the main character is referencing the ex-husband or the movie star that she's fascinated with, all of it was sort of up for grabs in terms of meaning. And I did that purposely, wanting it to be kind of no solid ground.
I think black and white really expressed some of that too, and the sort of conflation of Arctic and your own explorations.
Yeah, thanks.
Absolutely. Anyone else? I could prompt Pamela. The comparison of water and ultrasound were really incredible. That's my offering.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk about it. I think for me, it's I wanted to explore what does distance really feel when it's a distance that really wants to look into the future and close its gap. And that's what I think my nephew and where he was at that moment and my way of seeing him through the ultrasound really did for me. Even though like an ultrasound is not a real image, but rather these frequencies that read, and it's again trying to read the environment in which I was, even in the moment of making this film, and the fact that the the pressures of the of the grief were such a big part of how the film came to be. And yeah, it's interesting because I feel like as a short, like I started with the first motivation thinking about another type of
Mm.
distance, and then it just morphed. But those family distances that really shape who we are and why we leave or why we want to come back are things that I still want to explore in the future. Hopefully, maybe a feature length feature form of this film.
There were some incredible sort of comparisons of past moments really sort of seamlessly or actually in a sort of staccato juncture with really mundane moments where you're returned to each other, you and your sister, and it's as if you're in regular scheduled programming. It's so beautiful. Like no time has passed in some ways as you're discussing all of this past time. It's very lovely. Thank you.
Well, I would say
Beautiful.
apart from how hands are basically your main way of touching something, but it's also kind of like they contain acts and gestures in them as well. For instance, all other sorts of gestures of touching or trying to connect to an image in the rest of my film probably came later, but like the conception of it, which was like the last part, uh, was probably more focused on the gestures of the hands in photographs, and then the elements of me handling these digital images that I've printed in order to be able to have like more tangible, more physical relationship with them as I'm handling them, animating them. Um, that later on became a central, probably aesthetic approach of the film. Um, but the other thing that is important for me in that project is that um, we have like the sense of vision, we have the sense of touch, and sometimes they could be replacing each other. Um, but lack of one could also mean lack of another. So I can't travel back home, and I can't leave the US either. So I'm kind of like fixed in this position, like wherever I am living in the US at that moment. So if I wanted to, make any sort of film about Iran or any other place, actually, I cannot, for now, travel there. So I have to think of and resort to other modes of image making. So in relation to this project, it came down to documentary photographs by like professional photographers that were captured around the years that the revolution was happening or the political unrest after it. Um, then there were like amateur photographs taken by families of people who were executed and their bodies were buried in the mass grave. Um, and then screenshots that I made with Google Maps, trying to navigate the place. Um, and this was primarily influenced by this great film by Razana Salah called Your Father Was Born 100 Years Old, and So Was the Nakba, in which she uses Google Maps to navigate the occupied territory. And in doing so, also like reveals the inherent shortcomings of the technology to like allow her to experience certain locations, certain um, times even, and like all the glitches that it would produce. For instance, like I don't know, the horizon line at a beach would be like cracked. And yeah, using the and also like my own family photographs from like when I was a kid, that I don't have like their physical, um, you know, I don't have them as physical objects. I only have like photos of them that I have captured with my phone at the time, before leaving, just a select few. And I had to work with that. So I have to like print those, and turn them into objects that I can, actually touch. Um, and so there is like a relationship between, what you can touch is sometimes something that you can't see or record as well. So you have to find your way around it, and then what limitations that creates. Yeah.
This practice is really cool. I think I wrote down freestyle Ken Burns effect, just like a really like incredible. I mean, I think maybe you used the word manipulation, and this is really it was beautiful to see yourself inserted in spaces from the past into another past, or yeah, something that is unreachable otherwise.
I feel like the distance in my film is kind of obvious, including the physical distance, but also for that giant balloon thing, it's kind of like my aunt's American dream, and the dream itself is like super distant stuff, because from the image it seems like she's like so close to the balloon, but it's like the physical distance is so far. Even she walked for a long way, she couldn't reach it, because her dream is like probably 30 years delayed American dream. All her imagination about America is like 30 years ago. And also, I guess the distance from her family and her is also because of that kind of delayed thing. They know about the reality is not what she thinks, but they couldn't persuade her to come back, and she couldn't persuade her family to come to here. And also, I feel like there's a big distance relationship between me and her as well. It's because, first of all, I'm grew up with my cousin, so I'm more familiar with her. What she told me about my aunt, I will like take all of the stuff in from the beginning, because it's like we're so close to each other, and I just know my aunt 4 years ago. But later on, when I trying to communicate with her, talking with her, I feel like, oh, I kind of understand her, but it's like from a distant way. I don't want to be too biased to against her, but I don't want to against my feeling as well. So my inner conflict showing on the film, that through my voiceover, kind of showing this weird relationship between me and her, also between she and her family.
Yes, I mean, certainly full of contradiction, and I think I have a specific question for you before I open it up to the floor. I was very curious about your process in choosing to show yourself documenting, because you are both the subject of the film. You are just as much, perhaps, in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I project too much of my self journey onto her journey. And I don't think it's fair just show herself on the screen, because when somebody becomes the subject matter, the camera person hiding behind the camera is like, I don't think it's super ethical if you have strong subjective perspective towards your subject matter.
Absolutely.
You have to show yourself as well, and for the audience to see how the relationship is like, and even you have like bias towards her or not. It's just more ethical to show both of you on the screen. Don't let the audience or other people attack to your subject matter. That's why I choose to show myself as well. And I want to show how vulnerable I am at that time as well, especially when I have like hard time communicate with her, but I know it's not her fault. And I don't want to be like super bad towards her, especially I have all this pre-info about her. So I think that it's maybe a good way to show me as well.
It was incredible to hear you say that you liked the shot. Really a wonderful way to highlight perspective within. Thank you. Does anyone in the audience have questions?
Hi, thank you for this program very much. I had a quick question for Jesse, maybe spinning off that idea of representation of self. Hi Jesse, loved your film very much, and I was curious to know about your choice to employ somebody else to voice your story, who you had a voiceover that was not you. So how did you go about deciding that?
Thank you for everything. I had some ideas and had tried out things in terms of that voiceover. Again, like I mentioned, it was part of a writing project, and so it always had these kind of multiple voices and kind of different. I don't know if it's tenses, but a kind of way of speaking towards this person, the sort of I, and then the third person as well. But yeah, I had different thoughts and ideas, and then one idea that occurred to me was to use Kathy McLean, who's my mom, because I did want it to be a sort of older woman's voice, and I wanted her. I liked the personal connection. I knew that she could do it, and I liked having that kind of extra connection. I mean, yeah, I had wanted to do it in like Swedish and translate it, and then I thought, what am I doing? It was just a lot of text on screen. It didn't really make sense, but yeah, I thought I'd try it with her, and she was game, and I liked it because I always saw that narrator's position as sort of not like a fairy godmother, but this sort of like watchful presence that's not really an actual person, but someone that's kind of looking at this person, not even so much looking out for them, just kind of watching them. So yeah, it worked well. I mean, I don't know if she enjoyed the experience because I think it made her sad, but she's a good performer, so I was thankful she was game.
Any other questions? Comments? I could have another, but I feel like I've held y'all here, right here, for a bit longer than our time allows. So thank you so much for joining us. This afternoon at 4 p.m., we have a premiere of a feature film, Tara. And at 7 p.m., please join us at Seidel City for Doc Art's performance and video. Thank you so much.
Thank you.